Street. And do you think the Pope was justified in slapping the hand of a woman who grabbed his arm while he was greeting the crowds in St. Peter's Square on New Year's Eve? Did you see the pictures? Pope Francis had been greeting pilgrims when he admonished a woman and slapped her hand after she grabbed his hand and yanked him towards her. He did apologise and said he'd lost patience and felt very bad about that. While Jack Valero set up Catholic Voices in the UK, and I'm pleased to say is with us now. Good morning, Jack.
Good morning, Donna.
Good morning. Thank you ever so much for coming onto the programme today. First of all then, what did you make of this incident? Were you surprised at the Pope's reaction?
Well, I was a bit surprised. I mean, I know that the Pope really likes to be among the people, and he likes to, whenever he finishes a mass or a service, go out to the people and talk to them and be close to them. But then he was yanked like that. I saw that he was hurt. If you look at the video, he has a bad back and he was yanked very, very strongly. And then he lost his cool, which I thought was not very nice. But then I was very moved the next day when he immediately, the very next occasion that he had to speak in public, he apologized, saying, we all need to practice patience, and I wasn't very patient yesterday, and I apologize. And I thought, wow, he's very much like me, I also lose patience sometimes, and I need to apologize. So it led me to think, who I needed to apologize to,
yes.
In my daily life, which I thought was very good. And also to say, he's not God. He's preaching us God and to be close to God, but he's not God. We don't follow the Pope. We follow God, and the Pope helps us to get there. So I found it helpful in the end, even though to start with I was a bit surprised.
Thank you so much for putting it so eloquently, Jack, because I think we all were surprised because yes, the Pope is human. Of course, he is fallible, just like all the rest of us as well. And none of us know how we're going to react. But I think for somebody in his position, I think there seemed. Perhaps it was an example of an inattention. Am I reading too much into this? We don't expect to see the Pope react like that. I think that was what was so surprising to so many people.
Yes. Exactly. We don't expect it, and I was quite surprised. I think, wow, I thought the Pope was a really good person, and I think he's a really good person. But to be a really good person doesn't mean you're perfect, that you're not going to have a moment where you lose it or you lose your cool or something. But to be a really perfect person is to apologize whenever you make a mistake, and to make a mistake many times a day. And this is really real in our lives too, because just as the Pope says, God is very close to you. He loves you more than you can think, and there's nothing you can do to diminish his love for you. But that means that when you do something wrong, you should consider you've done it wrong and apologize to whoever you've hurt and so on. And if we all did that, then what a great world we would live in. And, and I think that's what I'm taking from it, to say the Pope preaches a God who is very close to people and who helps you when you do wrong.
Yes. I absolutely concur with all of that. But do you think perhaps it was his reaction was an example of how much pressure he's under? We all know that the Catholic Church is dealing with various scandals and accusations against senior clergy. So do you think maybe this was a bit of an example of the fact that the Pope is under a lot of pressure, a lot of stress, and it manifested itself in this way?
Yes, could be. I think he is under a lot of pressure, but I think he's very calm inside. The people I know who work for him, I know one or two people who work for him, and they say, oh no, he's very calm and he's very relaxed with God and tackles all the problems, even though there's huge pressure. But I think he also has this hot temperament, Latin. He comes from a Latin country, and he's hot temperament, and sometimes he gets annoyed, and then he knows himself to apologize. But yes, there's obviously huge pressure. What I find when I listen to him in speeches and in things he says, even off the cuff things, is that he does tackle a lot of problems, but he tries to be very calm about them because he knows that it's not up to him. It's not him solving the things, but he prays and he trusts in God. For example, when he talks about immigration, which he talks a lot because he's very, very concerned about it, he knows it's a huge world problem, and he doesn't offer any political solutions. But he says to us, look, when you think of immigration, think not just of numbers, but think that here's a family, here's a man, here's a woman, here's a child with a name and a face who are in trouble.
Yeah.
And if you think of that in that way, like immigration or even any other problem, then you will have a different attitude, because you will think, I need to look at this from the point of view of the people involved.
Yes.
And that's how God would look at it. And so he's saying, I'm not offering any solutions politically, but I just want you to look at it from the human point of view. And he does that, yeah.
It's very interesting. And Jack, we've got to leave it there, but thank you so much for coming on to the programme and giving us your perspective. Really, really hope you enjoy your Sunday.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Bye-bye. Bye.